Tipscom channel, where since 1999 our team of consumer advocates has been protecting and educating you, the car buying public, in all areas of buying new cars, used cars, leasing, financing, and all avoiding car dealer scams. So we have all sorts of videos and online guides on our website, and then today we want to talk about buying used cars. In particular, two main things that you need to be focusing on when you're buying a used car here. If you don't adhere to these two rules that we're going to go over here today, you stand to find yourself in big trouble when you buy a used car. Okay, now of course everything we're going to be talking about here today you'll find on our carbuyingtipscom website, and we'll put links down in the video description below for you so that you can go and see these particular guides here that we have online for you. So remember, if you just adhere to these two recommendations here, you'll eliminate probably 90% of the problems that you'll have when buying a used car. Alright, so here are the two things that you need to do here before you buy a used car. We highly recommend that you run a vehicle history report on that used car. Okay, so here's a vehicle history report, and you're probably wondering to yourself, why do I need one? I don't need one of these. So as it turns out, this is probably the single best tool that you, the car buying consumer, can have in your arsenal. And why is it so powerful? Well, I'll tell you a couple of reasons. First of all, I've used these numerous times in the past to help chisel down the selling price of the car. So you know how just like when there's a presidential election there and all the candidates are going to be digging up dirt on the other candidate and getting it out and exposed into the open, well, that's what we're doing here. We're digging up dirt on this particular car. Okay, so some of the most common information on these vehicle history reports that can really save you a lot of money are, they'll give you valuable intel. For example, one of the top things on here will be the state branded title. So for example, if your car was totaled in a crash, the insurance companies have to brand the title as totaled. So that way anybody doing a title search on it can find that out. What if your car was burnt or destroyed? That has to show up there as well. If it was sold at a salvage auction or junked, same thing. And flooded as well. And that brings up a great point for you, because you remember every few years we have like a major hurricane like the one in Texas a couple of years ago that flooded hundreds of thousands of cars in Houston. Well, where do you think all those cars go? You could be buying one of those cars right now, because they take those cars out into the desert, they let them air out there, and then they bring them back into another state and they launder them back to used car status, and that's bad. So in that state, it could show up as perfectly fine on the title. It won't be branded or anything. However, you'll have the report here because this follows the VIN number of the car, which is accumulating this history over time. Okay, so we'll put affiliate links down in the video description below for you so you can go and check out these vehicle history reports. And I highly suggest you get the ones that give you multiple reports, period. That way, if you're checking out several different candidate cars that you want to buy here, this will help you narrow down the cars. And another thing I wanted to warn you about, a lot of people, when they lease cars, they know they're over mileage by the time the lease is ending. So there are these really sleazy characters on Craigslist that advertised mileage correction services. You like that? And what they do is you go and you pay them like a couple of $100 and they will roll back the mileage on your car. Even the digital dashboards, it's easy for them to hook up their computer and reset the mileage back to a number that's going to keep you within the limits of you not getting any over mileage fees. So a lot of people do this, and even people that have a lot of mileage on their car that they just want to sell will do that same thing as well. So you got to be careful about that. That will get picked up here, because each time a car is checked in over the years, whether it's at an inspection station or a car dealership or wherever they collect that information, they're always writing down the mileage. So you'll know it on here. It will red flag it on here for you if the mileage seems to have been rolled back. So those are the major things you want to catch. So these are the major things you want to catch with vehicle history reports here. Was the car wrecked, and was the mileage rolled back? Those are the two biggies. Now, a lot of times these reports can also tell you if the car was brought in for service, you know, what was done, oil change or whatever. So it's a great way to tell if there was oil changes done on time as well, because everybody lies about how often they did an oil change. Most people don't do an oil change at all on their car. And one of my favorite, incredibly powerful pieces of information that these reports give you is right here. See where it says multiple owners? This will tell you how many owners that car has had. Why is that so important? Well, a few years back, we were going to buy my mom a Toyota Camry at a wholesale auction, and I ran the vehicle history report on the car and discovered that it had 4 owners in 4 years. Now, does that send up a red flag to you? Well, it sure did to us. So you can avoid a potentially problem car by looking for little red flags like that. So multiple owners, that's a very, very powerful piece of information to have. And you can use that against the seller to say, hey, this car's had 3 owners in 2 years. Why do I want this? No. Hey, the other question is, did the airbag deploy if there was an accident? Oftentimes they'll tell you here in the report. So this particular one right here, it says at the end of the report here, airbag did not deploy. So that's great information to have, because I don't mind buying a wrecked car as long as I know the airbag did not deploy. That means it wasn't all that serious. And then you don't have to worry about airbag fraud, like was a new airbag actually put in that car. The other thing is, what about open recalls? If there's any open recalls on your vehicle, it will show up here in the report as well. And you should listen to me, folks, because I've had success personally doing it this way. So let me show you here. 2 years ago, I went to help buy my daughter a used Mercedes-Benz, and the dealer was asking over $11,000 for it. So when I get in there, they're showing me this thing here, and they're trying to prove to me how it's supposedly worth $11,680. So they're using the pen is mightier than the sword. If it's printed on a paper, it must be true. So they have that. What they didn't know is that I had run a vehicle history report on it before I went in there and saw that this car had been in an accident. So I immediately drew their attention to this. I brought them out to the car, showed them where their damage area was, and showed them that it wasn't even repaired well at all. It was like a total botch job. And guess what, folks? I ended up walking out of that dealership with this car that they wanted $11,680 for. I got it for $9,200. All because I paid a few bucks for a simple little report like this. That's why you need to run these. So while I was shopping for this Mercedes E350, I found one at a local reputable Lexus dealer. And you know, they're real big on advertising, oh, Lexus certified this, CPO that, certified pre-owned that, and our cars are the best of the best. So I knew by looking online before I even went down there that it had an accident already. So I get down there, and the salesman's haggling with me over the price of the car, and he's all confident. He said, oh, we have the best cars around. None of our cars are ever wrecked. We only sell clean cars. Much to his shock, when I told him to go pull the vehicle history report, he comes back and he's like flabbergasted. He has no clue. So usually they're expecting you to be blindsided, but in this case, I blindsided the dealer there, and I ended up walking out of there with the deal of the century on this car. Okay, so while haggling with this Lexus dealership over this E350 here, I showed them here that it had a previous wreck. And even though they were showing me all of these Kelley Blue Book reports and other pure reports showing me how the car is worth $30,000, and yet they were trying to get me to pay $29,300 for it, which was, oh, what a discount. But I'm showing them, no, it's worth even less, because not only does it have this going on, it had high mileage for the year, and it also had 2 owners in 3 years. So I used all 3 of those facts against them. They didn't have a leg to stand on. We ended up buying the car for $27,200, almost $2,000 less, all because we were armed with this information. Had we not had this information, we would have been stuck paying that full price. Now, we cover this in full detail on an article on our website, and I'll put a link to that down below in the video description for you. But it's a great read for you. You should definitely read that before you even think about setting foot outside to go look for a used car, because it gives you a lot of great information on there. It is called How to Buy a Used Mercedes or Any Used Car and Save 56% off the original window sticker price. And you know, for 20 years, we've been telling you people to bring the folder with you into the dealership with all of your research, and this is one of them. So I had this printout here that shows all of what the other local dealers are charging for the exact same car. Proves to the dealer that they don't have a leg to stand on to charge that much money. So just remember, folks, since the beginning of time, car dealers are always pulling Jedi mind tricks on you, trying to trick you with, you know, big fancy reports and trying to show you that cars passed all these tests and everything. But their tests are never as good as the ones you'll perform. Their criteria is not as strict as yours is. So this is why I tell people, don't always put a whole lot of trust in these reports that the dealers give you. Okay, now one thing you need to keep in mind is that your experience of buying a car is once every 5 or 6 years, whereas the car dealers are trained to do this every single day. They're honing their skills every single day against people just like you who walk in the door. The other thing to remember is that car dealers are experts in making you pay more money and making it look like you've saved a whole bunch of money off of some theoretical maximum price, which is not true. They could sell you a car for way more than you should be paying and have you walking away thinking you saved thousands. So car dealers will pull their Jedi mind tricks on you with reports like these here. So these reports are designed to pump up the value of their car and make it harder for you to chisel down the price here. Like President Reagan said, trust but verify. So when the car salespeople try to Jedi mind trick you with their fake news reports like these, you need to put a stop to that immediately with your own fact checking and produce these reports here and use these against them to chisel the price down. So you can use all of the damaging information on here to show them that, hey, you know what, your price is way up here, my price is way down here, that's where your price is supposed to be. Now go get them. The second thing that you must do before you buy a used car is you must bring that car to a trusted mechanic and have it put up on a lift so they can tell you exactly what is wrong with that car, if there's anything wrong with it. So remember, by bringing in that candidate used car that you are about to buy, by bringing that into a mechanic and having them put it up on a lift, they're experts at their job, okay? And they can find stuff that you're not going to be thinking of when you're busy inside of a car dealer and you're trying to get things done and you're numbed by all of the numbers and everything. Yeah, they don't want you really investigating what's wrong with the car. But if you bring it to the mechanic, they can find all the stuff that's wrong. They'll check all the chemicals, the liquids and everything. They'll see, hey, is the engine oil burnt? Is the transmission oil burnt? They can hook computers up to it and see if there's any engine fault codes or anything that are hidden that you don't know about. Those could be very costly, especially some of these O2 sensors that if they need to be replaced, can be hundreds of dollars each. Now, if you don't do both of these two here, then don't buy that car. I'm telling you right now, you will regret it later. More often than not, people run into problems when they buy a car and they don't do these two checks on it and they find out later that there was something wrong. Now, for some reason, people seem to think, oh, I'm safe if I go to the big dealers to buy a used car. Well, that's not always true. We have seen quite a few times over the years that the real big auto malls and the big dealers, they got that way really by being tough negotiators. And remember, folks, the last thing in the world that you need is to buy a used car at a dealer that's as is, no warranty, and you drive it off the lot and a week later something dies on it, like the engine or the transmission. See, the important thing to remember, and this is why I don't want you to get a huge warm and fuzzy feeling about going to a big dealer or a small dealer or even an online dealer or even a private dealer. The thing is that a used car is a used car no matter where you go. And we've been telling people this since day one, pounding the tables, telling them this, is that no matter where you're buying that used car from, it all has to be run through the same exact filter. So just like TSA agents at the airport run all of us through that same filter there, the same thing has to be done with a used car. You can't make any assumption that any one used car is any better at any other place. You just can't. And remember too that many quick fixes like lipstick on a pig, type fixes that car dealers are notorious for doing on used cars, they're made to just get the car up and running for a week or two, just long enough to get that car sold and off the lot, and it's gone. It's no longer their responsibility, right? And once you bought it, and once you drive off that lot, you bought it, you own it, you have no recourse if there's anything wrong if you signed an as-is paper. Now, as I mentioned, we've been online since 1999. Now, we get a lot of emails from people. We've heard from hundreds and hundreds of people over the years who have emailed us and said, hey, you know what? We bought this used car, and a week later we brought it in, and we found out that it had been wrecked. We had it put up on a lift and we saw that it had been wrecked, or we found out it had a leak in it, and we're always scratching our heads going, why didn't these people think ahead of time and perform these checks beforehand? Here's 3 common problems that we hear from people who are buying used cars. So the first thing that we hear is, hey, I bought this used car, got it home, and I ran a vehicle history report on it and found out that it had been in a wreck previously. And we're just like, you're supposed to do that before you buy the car. Don't be that person that doesn't do it. Okay, the second thing that we hear people mention a lot is they buy a used car, they bring it home, and they take it into a shop and they have it put up on a lift where they discover that the car had been wrecked previously, or there's leaks, or there's something major wrong with it. And again, these are things that they should have done that before, not after, right? You don't chew after you swallow. Okay, so here's the third and probably the most common thing that we hear from people. They tell us that they buy the used car, they get it home, they're driving it for a few weeks, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, bam, the transmission goes out, or the engine dies, or something major happens. Something that probably should have been caught a couple of weeks before. A common trend that we see with this is that quite often these big failures like that always seem to happen within a week or two of buying that car. In that little narrow time frame, there's nothing you can do about it. You have no recourse on that. You can't get your money back. You're not going to get them to do anything. Oh, sure, some people will go back to the dealer and complain, oh, so-and-so's not here. Come back Monday, he'll take care of it for you. And you come back Monday and he's off. You know, he's not there, or nobody's going to help you. You're going to get the runaround. Nobody's going to help you. So one thing I want you to remember here, folks, is the only one looking out for you is you and us. We're looking out for you as well. Nobody else is. Well, just a reminder, there's a whole lot more of car buying guides and information for you over on our carbuyingtips.com site. So make sure you head over there and check out those articles too. And if you're liking what you see on this video so far here today, hey, do us a favor. Would you go ahead and give us a thumbs up down below? Just click on that thumbs up icon that tells us that you like us, and it helps our videos rank better as well. And if you have not subscribed to our channel yet, all I can say is why not? Make sure you click on that subscribe button down below there. And when you do that, be sure to click the little bell icon next to it, that little gray bell. And then when you click the bell, make sure you tell YouTube to alert you whenever we upload videos on our channel, because you don't want to miss any of our videos, okay? Well, that's it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.